Now, once again, Raymond Arroyo.
Welcome back to The World Over Live. On Thursday, President Barack Obama arrived in Rome for his first ever meeting with Pope Francis. According to the White House, they discussed common ground issues like poverty relief and income inequality. But the Vatican statement following the visit tells a different tale. For what really happened and its impact, we're joined by the Archbishop of Washington, Cardinal Wuerl. Your Eminence, thank you for being here.
It's great to be back with you.
Great to have you. Now, I want to share with you and the audience, this is a piece of the Vatican statement describing this meeting. It says, in the context of bilateral relations and cooperation between church and state, there was a discussion on questions of particular relevance for the church in that country, the United States, such as the exercise of the rights to religious freedom, life, and conscientious objection, as well as the issue of immigration reform. Your Eminence, is this pretty much what you expected would be discussed during this conversation?
It's certainly what I hoped would be on the agenda, and I couldn't imagine that the Pope would receive the President of the United States and not touch on some of these issues. They're issues that have dominated the news, and they are pressing issues right now. This isn't a question of something from years ago or some possibility in the future. We're talking about what's going on right now. And so the Holy See issues the statement. What did they talk about? The Pope raised the question, religious freedom. The protection of life. These are basic issues of today. I wasn't surprised at all.
And the immigration reform, we saw that little girl who, at his Wednesday audience, jumped the barrier and said, my father's going to be deported. She's in America. And the Pope promised he would raise that issue with the President, which apparently he did.
And I think we could count on that coming up because, again, it's one of those burning issues. All of these matters we're talking about, they're right out in front of us today. The question of deporting members of families, I mean, there has to be some way in which that whole issue is addressed in an equitable and fair and just manner. But the question of religious liberty, the question of freedom of conscience, conscientious objection, these are fundamental American issues. It seems in a way almost ironic that it would be the Pope raising these issues.
Right. I want to share this with you. This is the President's version of the events at a press conference in Rome. Here's what he said about the Pope. Listen.
He actually did not touch in detail on the Affordable Care Act. In my meeting with the Secretary of State, Cardinal Pentolin, we discussed briefly the issue of making sure that that conscience and religious freedom was observed in the context of applying the law. And I explained to him that most religious organizations are entirely exempt. Religiously affiliated hospitals or universities or NGOs simply have to attest that they have a religious objection, in which case they are not required to provide contraception, although the employees of theirs who choose are able to obtain it through the insurance company. And I pledge to continue to dialogue with the U.S. Conference of Bishops to make sure that we can strike the right balance, making sure that not only everybody has health care, but families and women in particular are able to enjoy the kind of health care coverage that the ACA offers, but that religious freedom is still observed.
Your Eminence, do you believe that it's possible, given all that we've seen from the administration so far, to reach some sort of balance or compromise between the distribution of contraceptives to employees and the exercise of religious freedom?
Well, I think where we are right now is in court, because we were not able to find some workable agreement. I know the leadership of the Conference of Bishops made every effort, meeting with the President, meeting with the people from the administration, and we're in court because what came out of all of that didn't meet the needs of Catholic institutions. It certainly didn't meet the needs of our Catholic ministry and service. You know, one of the really harmful elements in all of this is the administration's claim to be able to separate ministries from church. And that's what this whole accommodation is all about, to divide. That's a whole new element in church-state relations in the United States, and that's one of the reasons why we're in court.
Does it concern you that that was that it was depicted that way by the administration to the Secretary of State at the Vatican? That, you know, well, we've already granted these waivers, we've already granted these accommodations, as if it's a done deal, and somehow you and the conference are just not being cooperative.
Well, it's been said, hey, that's the position that the administration has taken all along, that we don't have a problem, that we, the church, bishops, shouldn't have a problem because it's all been solved, and yet it hasn't been. Again, I want to return to why would we be in court, and why would the court be hearing this if the problem had been solved? Right,
at the Supreme Court level, no less. What does this really accomplish? The Pope meeting with the President. Do you believe we'll see any change in the administration's policies?
That I can't really envision, but what I think might happen is this Holy Father is such a force for good. I can't help but think that there has been some impact. It was a brief meeting. In a way, you can't expect too much from it, but this Holy Father impacts people in a way that they're not always prepared to expect is going to happen.
Well, I loved the opening. His opening, which you could pick up a little bit from the cameras. He sat down and through the interpreter, he said to the President, "I want you to feel very much at home here." And I thought, what an opening this is. That, you know, talk about disorienting for anybody sitting across from this man. So his pastoral touch was even being applied, I thought, this morning.
He can be totally disarming because of his sincerity. What comes across is this wonderfully pastoral, very, very alert person. And what will come out of the meeting, I don't think there'll be anything of great immediacy, but I wonder if down the road the impact isn't going to begin to unfold.
Before I let you go, I have to ask you, there has been a great back and forth, a public debate, if you will, over what to do with divorced and remarried Catholics and whether they should be admitted to the sacraments. Cardinal Casper has made it known at the preparatory meeting for the synod, in which you will be on the council of, coming up this October, where he said there must be some accommodation. In mercy, we have to provide some answer to these divorced and remarried Catholics. You had Cardinal Burke and others, Cardinal O'Malley, saying Christ's teachings will not permit us to change the basic teaching. What are your thoughts?
Well, listening to that whole debate, what I heard was the starting point is the indissolubility of marriage. And I think we all heard that reaffirmed and reaffirmed and reaffirmed, the indissolubility of marriage. That being the case, how do we pastorally respond to people whose marriage has collapsed, has failed? And that's where I heard the discussion, not to change the teaching, but when you're dealing now with annulments, is there a way to address those so they move along more quickly? Is there a way to help people, particularly in a culture where the whole idea of the permanency of marriage is not understood? Is there a way to begin to address that? And I don't think we're going to see anything radical come out of all of this discussion. Our Holy Father certainly is saying, let us be caring and loving and embracing, but at the same time, we can't change the teaching.
Very good. Cardinal Donald Wuerl, thank you so much for being here.